Hello audience, welcome back. Now, I haven't been in the best mental state lately. I kind of have a lot of, plans and upcoming events that I've been trying to figure out, and I haven't been doing, for lack of a better word, the best job figuring them out, at least in a way to allow me to cope with it. I've been having a lot more anxiety lately, and I've even been having, some panic attacks and insomnia too. And I know a lot of my fans probably struggle with that or other similar mental health issues, so I will talk about, some thoughts and other additional strategies on how to cope with such things. I do know that in my earlier videos when my channel was newer, if I had to give a rough timeline from January 2021 to about August, September 2021, that was the basis for most of my videos. It either had something to do with managing anxiety or coping with anxiety or ways to facilitate anxiety recovery. Now, it is debatable on whether anxiety recovery is really, possible or practical. There are some people who argue that it isn't possible to recover from anxiety, whereas there are some people who say that it is. That is debatable. It's kind of one of those things where I don't think you could really give an absolute answer to a question like that. But in my opinion, there really is no debate on the fact that we definitely can improve and manage our anxiety. So something that often occurs in anxiety sufferers is that we seem to have thoughts that we really can't control, and we can't really seem to make them go away. Now, I do see this in sufferers of other mental disorders like OCD, PTSD, and even depression, and I do think this following method might be able to work for depression. I can't really think of a specific case where I've seen it help someone with depression, but I have seen cases where this strategy has helped OCD, PTSD, and anxiety sufferers, etc. So you may have heard, about this analogy. A lot of times we really can't make a specific thought go away. Unfortunately, just trying to make a thought go away rarely works. Like, for instance, if I told you, don't think about a white bear, you're gonna think about a white bear. You're probably thinking about it right now. You can't get the picture of the white bear out of your head now, can you? Don't believe you. My gosh, the white bear is in my head now too. In fact, I can actually describe in vivid detail what the picture of the white bear looks like. It looks like a painted white bear, like something like a preschooler painted, and there's a bunch of snowflakes, and it's on a blue piece of paper. That is literally what the picture of the white bear looks like in my head right now. But you can't really blame me for being like that. I do have kind of a crazy imagination. Okay, just willing a thought to go away rarely works. The more you try not to think about it, the more it comes. Principle of what resists persists. Ultimately, what that leads into is we kind of have to accept a thought instead of frantically fighting it every time it comes, because we know if we do that, it's just going to come stronger and stronger. I do know accepting something is something that is kind of hard to do at will, but there is a strategy to kind of induce the acceptance to happen. So since we know that we can't will a thought out, this is the basis behind what I like to call the worry time strategy. Basically, what you do is schedule a block of time. It can be like 15 minutes to 30 minutes. The amount of time doesn't really matter all that much. You can kind of, play around with how long you can do this method for, just as long as it's a defined range of time. During this scheduled block of time, what you want to do is think about the thought you are trying to avoid during the 15 minutes. You just force yourself to think about it nonstop. Just keep thinking about it. Keep thinking about it. If your mind gets distracted, keep going back to the thought that you're trying to avoid. Just ruminate about what you're worrying about over and over. Keep thinking about your worries. Ruminate about it. Obsess over it. Keep thinking about it like you're getting paid to think about it. And if you do this long enough, you'll find that it gets redundant and kind of boring and think about it anymore. And when we find something boring, it's less likely to really be intimidating. If you've ever, listened to somebody go on and on about something, or maybe you've taken a class and your educator kind of seemed to just go on and on about a topic, or maybe that's kind of what some of my viewers right now are thinking about my video here, thinking I'm going on, and they got bored of me and they kind of shut off my video and went to find another one. So yeah, that's kind of what's happening here. Basis behind it is, instead of willing the thought out, we're really just willing the thought in. Instead of putting conscious effort into avoiding that thought, we're actually putting conscious effort into willing the thought in. We're not willing it out, we're willing it in. But of course, we're doing it for a specified finite amount of time. But the key here is if it's done long enough during the specified block of time, it'll just become boring. And then when you go about your day later, the thought will be less likely to come back up. Yeah, I may not be a therapist or a psychologist or a counselor, so technically I'm not a mental health professional of any kind, but hey, one doesn't have anything to lose by trying my method here. In a real life example, you could do this. Let's say, you had an argument with somebody you knew, and maybe you regret something that you said, or maybe you feel emotionally hurt by something they said to you, and then you go about your day, and you find that that thought just keeps popping up when you don't want it to pop up, and then, it kind of just seems to ruin your day. Find a session where you have time, like 15 to 30 minutes or so, and then during that time, keep thinking about what that person who offended you said. Just think about it over and over and over. Keep repeating it in your head. Think about it like you're getting paid to think about it. And we're doing the opposite of trying not to think about it. We're actually trying to think about it. And I can tell you that I do think that there's a good chance that by the time the 15 to 30 minutes are over, it'll be so redundant to your brain that it isn't even a worthwhile thought to your mind, if that makes sense. Have you ever, said a word or maybe heard a person say a word so much that it didn't even sound like a real word anymore? Like, for instance, say the word pickle over and over and over, and I guarantee you at some point it won't even sound a word anymore. Like, let's try it. Pickle, 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 pickle. Yeah, I guarantee if I said that long enough, it wouldn't even seem like a word anymore. Kind of almost like induce me to go into existential crisis. Like, is anything real? My gosh, I am weird. I think that's kind of what happened as a result of me being left alone with my thoughts for so long. Now, the concept of saying a word like pickle so much that it doesn't sound a word anymore sounds like a challenge that somebody made up in early elementary school in like second grade. I remember at my early elementary school, somebody in my second grade class made up this game, and she called it the poop challenge. Basically what it is she would challenge another kid in the class to say the word poop as many times as you can before you laugh, and once you began to laugh, she would count up how many times you said it without laughing, and then that would basically be the verdict of the game. I feel like that second grade game that somebody made up is kind of similar to what I'm talking